Consignment in a day, you can freeze. I mean, you cannot freeze.
So this is the causeway. Initially it was 7 meters.
Sasa kilo moja hiyo ni ngapi?
500 tegemea kule vanda 500.
Sasa hiyo kilo moja unauza pesa ngapi?
Ya hiyo octopus kama 500. 500. Juzi nilinunua wengi sana.
Funga maslahi yako.
Ha? Eh,
Now again, you see the gate from this side. You can see now this is the mobile water tank. This is the power substation. Transmission block near the gate. We are here now. Actually, we're now here. In this building. Here we are now. This is a fish meat plant where the waste of the fish will be processed for many animal feeds, measuring 75 by 30. Yeah, this is the old jet. And the new jet is on this side.
It's a project of immense importance to our economy, local communities, and the national vision for a thriving blue economy. Your visit today marks a significant milestone in a collective effort to ensure that this project not only meets its intended objectives, but also adheres to the high standards of quality, sustainability, and economic impact. Mr. Chairman, the Shimoni Fishing Port is a key strategic investment aimed at modernizing our fisheries sector, enhancing trade opportunities, and supporting thousands of livelihoods, particularly among our coastal communities. This facility is expected to improve fish handling, storage, and export capabilities, thus positioning Kenya as a major player in the regional and global seafood market. Mr. Chairman and esteemed assemblage here, the role of the Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism is invaluable in ensuring that this project remains on track and delivers the intended benefits to our people. We look forward to your insights, recommendations, and continued support as the project goes along. Once again, Chairman, distinguished members of the committee, we thank you for your presence here today and for your unwavering commitment to advancing trade, infrastructure, and economic development in our great nation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and we pray and hope that we have a fruitful discussion and tour. Thank you.
In April, we were able to carry out the final geotech survey to determine the area where we are going to construct the berth. Then in October 2021, we were issued with the Heritage Impact Assessment license. You are aware that Shimoni, we have quite a lot of heritage issues in terms of during the slave trade and the rest. So we have quite a number of issues around, which we also had to take into consideration. And I believe one of the issues why we also shifted was to minimize on disrupting some of these heritage issues. Then we identified, we were able to procure the contractor, and the first meeting we had was on 12th July 2022. Then handing over of the site was on 29th July. That is when we handed over the site to the contractor. The commencement for the project was on 1st October 2022. Then we had to engage a consultant. I will explain further. That is in February 2023. Then signing of a consultant contract was in February, again 2023. Commencement of consultancy services was in 16th February 2023. The original completion date for the project was initially earmarked for October 2024, which was last year. However, there was some challenges which resulted into review of the completion date, which was supposed to be 15th of this month. I will also explain certain challenges have arisen, and the project now timeline have been pushed to June 2025. That is the completion date as at now. Now that will mean that we will start the defect notification period immediately on the same day, in 15th June 2025. Then we will have to monitor the facility. Then the final handing over will be in June 2026. That means that will mark the end of the DNP period, so that the contractor can move out of site totally. Now, the original scope for the project had earmarked quite a number of items. First was the modern jetty. If you remember, Architect Rai have shown that the jetty head was supposed to be 150. However, we were able to do the half of it. Now the second half will be done during second phase, and also depending on how the performance of the port. If the business increase, then we'll now see the demand for increase of the second phase. These were some of the components within the project. We had the jetty, the warehouse with the fish processing plant, cold storage and ice making plant. Then we have the port access. The way you came, as you are entering the Shimoni port, you branched off. Then now we had to introduce the access road. Then there's the port gate and related facilities. We have the powerhouse, the water storage, the goods warehouse, the perimeter fence, the abolition blocks, and interrelated IT facilities. Also, we were to provide basic security works within the facility. Then also there was a rehabilitation of the, sorry, go back. There was the rehabilitation of the existing offices which were formerly owned by the Kenya Fisheries. Now, we also had to do carry out some demolition works on some old structures which were within. Then there was a fire station which was meant to be there, to be constructed, biodigester, wastewater management, the one Rai was explaining. There's quite a lot of water being utilized in the facility. Then the rehabilitation of the fish landing site. You are aware, currently we have quite a number of fishermen. The livelihood for the locals within is basically on fishing. Now we rehabilitated for them the landing sites and made for them a small area where they can now comfortably store their fish. Then we also have the fish auction markets. That one is yet to be constructed. I will mention it later. Then there's the lighting system, that is the floodlights. The rehabilitation of the old offices was also done. Now, upon engagement of the consultant, the reason why we had to engage the consultant, the initial design was done by Public Works. However, after carrying out our own analysis, we felt that they did not do an exhaustive approach to design of the port. Then we had to engage a professional consultant to redesign and review the original designs. Now, upon the review of the original scope of work, the consultants, together with our team, came up with a new scope. The jetty was maintained at the same at 75, with a causeway of 135 meters long. Then we have the warehouse to accommodate the fish processing plant. Then the access road with the signage, the drainage systems, the port gate. We are intending to improve the port gate to adhere to the ISPS codes. Then we have the powerhouse, including the generator because of the cold storage facilities, the water storage tanks, the goods warehouse, the current existing jetty, which is still in operation. As my colleague had mentioned earlier, we didn't want to mix fish with other commodities. So we had to rehabilitate the existing warehouse, which when we have time we'll also walk through and have a look at it, so that the local community who are using the old jetty, they have a storage facility for their goods. Then we have the perimeter wall, fence, the main ablution block, the one which is just outside as we walk in. Of course, the other civil works, those are the driveway and the rest. The IT facilities, basic security works. Then, of course, the old buildings which were here, some of them had asbestos roofs. So we also had to remove those and safely dispose of them. Then where we are sitting now originally was meant to be a fire station. However, there was need to have a fish meal processing plant. The reason why we have to have the fish meal processing plant, which was not there in the original scope, is that almost 40% of the processed fish, the rest will be waste. So instead of dumping it as waste, it was redesigned. I mean, the consultant came with the idea that we convert the fire station, because right now, at the moment, we can still share the county fire engine with the port. Then we have the fish meal processing plant where we are actually sitting at the moment, so that we maximize on the waste and reutilize it for making the feeds. Then we have biodigesters in the place. We also have the wastewater management from the fish processing plant. As we had mentioned, not all the waste from the fish processing plant is supposed to be disposed. Part of it going to be recycled and reused in the sludge waste. The solid waste will be brought back to the fish meal plant, processing plant, to be reused for making these other feeds. Then as part of our social CSR, we have also done the landing sites, as I had mentioned earlier, for the local fishermen. The other items that I mentioned earlier were the high mast that will maintain the public toilets, the canteen, formerly from the State Department of Fishery. We have also rehabilitated most of the offices which were initially being used by the Kenya Fisheries. Then the demolition of the former canteen, formerly a project of State Department of Fisheries. We have a pump house at the jetty. When you walk through, you will be able to see and appreciate the pump house, which is stationed at the jetty. Can I continue? Okay. On the original concept design, the cold processing plant, as you can see, it occupies an area of 95 meters square for manual handling. It's able to have 58 tons we have overhead handling equipment. We have the processed fish storage area, which is 71 meters square with the manual handling, and depending on the type of the fish which is being brought at any particular time. Now, on the jetty capacity, as I had mentioned earlier, it's capable of handling 24,000 metric tons per year. This is considering that the following parameters: the vessel length of 50 to 60 meters and the working hours of 12 hours. Sorry. Go back. So you can see that in the final analysis, if we'll be able to do the second phase, our capacity will also increase. But that will be subject to how the performance of the facility will be. My colleague will just show you some pictorials. Then we can, I'll hand over to the resident engineer so that we can have a virtual physical inspection on some of the facility. I know the weather is a bit harsh, but since now you have come here, Chair, it's good for you to actually appreciate the site. Yeah. So this is just the final product, how it will look like. That is the causeway with the modern jetty. That's the layout, the overall layout. Now, the project data, our contractor for this project, SECO, the Southern Engineering, the consultant, Kiri Consult. The initial project was envisaged to take 24 months. However, based on the revised program, the project timeline have increased to 29.5 months. The cost of the consultancy is 177 million, while the project cost was 2.6 billion. As at now, time lapse is 100%. We are at 95% against 100 as at 22nd of this month. Now, on the progress, the removal of, on the construction progress. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. Okay. For the safe removal on the old buildings, that was done 100%. Public toilet is complete. The fish landing site is also complete. The modern jetty is at 98%. The fish processing plant is at 83%. The port access road is at 80%. The port gate and supporting facilities is at 99%. The power station, including the generator, is at 96%. The water storage tank is at 99%. The warehouse, that's the goods warehouse at the existing jetty, is at 99. Perimeter fence, 97. The civil works is at 90. The warehouse, that is the fish mill, where we are now, is at 89%. The biodigesters are at 95. Wastewater management is at 60%. The cold rooms and refrigeration works currently is standing at 40%. How the locals have benefited from the project during construction. You can see, James, maybe you could. You can see the locals are standing at 54%. By the locals, we mean those who reside within the Kwale County. Others are those who come maybe out of the Kwale County. So the total number of people, we are not talking about locals in Shimoni, is the whole county. We consider them as the locals. Then anybody else is outside. I see. It's an interesting subject. It is the locals. Okay. Yes. Gonna break that. So can I continue? Then maybe you can ask a senator. So, Senator, I had not finished. Just hold on a bit. Let me continue a bit. Then you can bring your question. So please proceed. Now, the number of staff were absorbed in the following disciplines. Now, Senator, we are coming to your answer. Now, the number of people trained on skill transfer. You can see in terms of technological transfer, the skills transfer, we had civil engineers, electrical, survey, sociologists, HS, community liaison, and architects. The total number who were trained were 14 number. The subcontractors who are local again, we have for tree planting. Then we have the HIV AIDS related. Please go. Now, the challenges which we have faced in the project, the initial project started as a multi-agency, it had a multi-agency approach. By that I mean, we had the Kenya Port Authority, the Kenya Power, we have the county government, the Coast Water Development, and other related organizations. However, due to budget constraints, most of these agencies were not able to come on board and assist within the project. For example, right now we have a serious issue because the water has not been brought. However, the Kwale government had said they'll be able to bring the water. The cost of bringing the water up to this facility is quite immense because of the distance. I think it's 18 kilometers. From Tiwi to Kwale here is over 18 kilometers, so it's quite a distance. Now, the other challenges, the other challenges was a result of after the design review. There were some some challenges which resulted in delays. For example, the issue of the piling material. The piling material, we had to change the design of the piling material because of the the geotech study which was done, and they found that the rocks under the sea, or what we call in engineering the strata, were a bit different. So the approach to drive the piles which are holding the jetty head, we had to do some changes. Then we also had this issue of the heritage sites. So we tried as much as possible to shift from the heritage sites. For example, the access road, we had to divert it to the side you have entered, unlike the side which is right next to to Shimoni, the cave, because we have the caves just running along there. So for us to start doing the roads there, it means that we have to damage the caves, and that one we had to relocate again, and that's the reason why the road was shifted. Then, as I've mentioned earlier, there were some unforeseen rock formations, which I've explained. Then again, the last item on identification of adequate water source. This is also a major challenge because the fish processing plant requires quite a lot of water. Now, phase 2 of the works, that one will come later once phase 1, it will involve the fire fighting system. Remember, this was originally the fire station, but we converted it. Then we have the fish auction market, which is supposed to be provided by the county government. They're supposed to provide the site where the fish auction market will be. Of course, the water which I have mentioned, and again, we need to incorporate the integrated security system in line with the ISPS code. And then lastly, the canteen and the welfare building. These are just pictorials of the ongoing during the construction. You can just see. We will appreciate this when we take a walk along. I think that was our presentation, Chair.
The presentation, the engineer said that the county was supposed to identify or provide the land that the market was supposed to be built. I don't know whether we have anybody from Kwale County Government here. But we would like to know, since we are the project implementers, whether that land has been provided, or at least you have been shown the site where the fish market was supposed to be. And in relation to that, before we leave that question, does it therefore mean that this project as is will only provide for the cold storage and movement, and there will be no fish market around here to do the fish auction? Number 2, Chair, I don't know whether that is on our part or on the part of KPA. I would have expected that the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Institute to be part of this team. I don't know whether we have somebody from... Huh? What? How it? Kenya Fisheries. Did they introduce themselves? Okay. So you are representative of Kenya Fisheries?
From county.
So I think you will answer the question of whether you have provided the land meant for the market on behalf of your CC and your government. You can do phone calls if you are not sure. But I'm just asking KPA, you know, when you came to this site, Fisheries Department was operating somewhere here. I want to believe they are part of your key stakeholders in this project, and would naturally expect them to be in this meeting, because we would like to know, like this facility, is KPA going to run? Is it Fisheries Department that is going to run? Or what will be the operational relationship in terms of the various stakeholders who are supposed to operate from this site. So, Chair, I don't know whether you allow me to ask at least 4 questions, because
please.
I have about 15 of them.
Today is our day. We are here.
So that, I think that is one. So Kwale County, maybe because you are here, you will tell us about the issue of the land. But in terms of project scoping and so forth, I would also like to know from you whether now there will be no fish auction, is only cold storage and the fish meal processing plant, and of course the landing site. Then, before we move away from that last bit, local content, you only train 14. Against all this scope of civil and structural engineering, electrical engineering, survey, sociology, is it that there is shortage of qualified or trained technical people in the whole of Kwale County? And the representative of CSE, you'll have to tell us how many TTIs are complete and operational in Kwale County that were meant to be in every constituency. At least I saw one on my way. Why that number is so low? Considering the value of the contract is 2-point-something billion. What is the value of the local subcontracts for tree planting and the ones for HIV and AIDS? And so that when you answer my question, you answer in the perspective. Why I'm interested in that, I'm interested to know how much of this 2.6 billion contract remain actually in Kwale County. Then the fourth one, so that I allow my colleagues to answer to ask for round 1, was in your presentation in the part of challenges. There are a number of unforeseen things like the substrata of the rock formation leading to excess pile strength and so forth. I would like to know, in view of that, was there variation of works? And if there was variation, how much additional cost did those challenges pose and added to the contract? Thank you very much. That is round 1.
Thank you. The geotechnical investigations report, because that somehow will touch on. I am assuming when you conduct such a report, it captures most of what you are mentioning here in form of hard soil strata and that. Does it mean when you are conducting that investigation, some of these issues never arose? Or maybe I would request for a copy of that report to the committee. And then my final question, I would want to know the exact figure of the contract, and because I heard you paid 177 million as consultant's fee. Is it part of the phase 1 of the project, or it captures the whole project? Yes.
Even myself, I have, regarding the plot, I had you were saying about the plot C, that it was not, you didn't use that plot variable and you had to use this other plot. Okay, what are the really main reason actually? Because you said just lightly that there was some hitchback about it. I wanted to know the real reason and what is the acreage of that plot. 1. Secondly, it's regarding this plot which you were saying it was meant for fire station. Isn't it? See, this plot was meant for the fire station. Where are you planning to put a fire station? This is our house. It was supposed to be a fire station here. Isn't it? Where are you planning to put a fire station here? In this project? Where? Do you have a land for the fire station? Or not?
Chair.
Yes, please.
Of the plot.
Which one? The C or
Plot C
yeah.
was privately owned. Is that the position? And if it was it acquired? And if it was acquired, at what cost? And if it was fully acquired, are the registration documents now with KPA? Number two, on the fire station, Chair, there is the issue of construction of the fire station and of course equipping the fire station. Was the scope of that contract of the fire station including equipping to the extent that if you are not building the fire station, then the equipment should be handed over to the county government of Kwale fire station to be able to provide the service from their station until when this site establishes a new fire station.
How about the issue of
For the fish auction market, yes, the fish auction market, the land was identified by the county government and the land was shown to us as KPA. Unfortunately, from KPA perspective, for us to be able to do any development onto the land, there was matters to do with identification of the land and the evidence of ownership of the land. And that is the process that is happening now with the county. We since have written to the county to that effect, so that even when we are undertaking the environmental impact assessment associated with that development over there, then matters to do with ownership are clearly defined. So we are in that process, and as it has been shown there, this has been earmarked as part of the phase 2 works. So when we are undertaking phase 2 works and having properly identified the land besides having been shown it, then it will be the right time to start doing the initial first phase development of the fish auction market. So as it stands, it is true, we were shown, we visited the fish, but we can't do any development before the right land registry processes have been finalized. So that is the process that is happening with the county government of Kwale prior to us doing any development over there.
Is it land owned by county government or is it private land?
It is owned by county government.
It's owned by county
Yeah.
Yes,
and you have identified the land.
they have identified. We have seen, yes.
What's the problem?
The problem is ownership. The documents to show it is theirs for us to be able now to commence the even design works to it.
So it seems likely that it's not owned by county government. If
So-
it's owned by county government,
Yeah.
I'm sure by now you will be having a document.
So we informed them that so that they show us, they give us the documents. And yeah.
Sawa,
So-
sawa, sawa.
Okay.
Na hii.
About 3 kilometers. 3 kilometers. 3 kilometers.
Approximately 3 kilometers.
3.
3 kilometers. Yeah.
About.
So now the documentation process is going on so that we can get title for the land. Yeah, we don't have the title at the moment, but the process to get the title is going on. It was identified as the most suitable industrial. The original idea is to have an industrial fish port in Shimoni.
If I could paraphrase through the chair, there was a feasibility study and the location of that plot was informed by that study. That was the most appropriate because when you're looking for a port site, you're looking at the geotechnical result of that place and the location. So the feasibility study chair informed that decision, but it has not yet been progressed. Indeed.
Is it still in plan? Because the main solution will not be realized, or the scope will be less than what was.
Strategy.
What we originally, as per the vision, we were supposed to have an industrial, where at least industrial fish pot, semi-industrial fish pot, and artisanal fish pot. What we have currently at the coast is artisanal. And the pot all along existed as an artisanal fish pot. So what we are currently doing is semi-industrial fish pot. That's why we have fish processing here, a lot of other value addition facility here. So it is not that full industrial fish pot, but it is semi-industrial fish pot, an improvement from artisanal fish pot. So this is an industrial. So the Senator Governor and Senator Mandagor, you had asked also a question on operation. How we are envisaging to operate this port. We are still following the feasibility study. This port original intention was to operate it as a PPP port, land load system. You are aware the landlord KPA is supposed to do the basic infrastructure like what you have done, but the operation of the port will be done by private operator. To this aspect, KPA recently advertised a tender because we are now almost that time we are reaching around 84% of the work which is already done. So we had envisaged that now it's time to onboard an operator. So we did an expression of interest. Tender was advertised, but there was some change of idea from the government, which I think you know already that the Department of Fisheries want to operate this port. When we have already done the tender, and so the tender was, how can I say it? Was
Halted.
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 It was halted. It was not pulled down, but it's just there. We are still, we have written, because the mandate of operating the port is with KPA under the CAP 391 of the laws of Kenya. So fisheries are supposed to be regulators. So we wrote to the Ministry, Treasury, they are regulators. Yeah. Mohamed Golicha. Fisheries are regulators, so we were wondering how regulator can operate.
We have to listen to the story of Fisheries Department independently. And you know sometimes perhaps not if we make a very objective determination. And we did all of that because part of the land here was for Fisheries Department.
Fisheries.
And that's why they have a legitimate stake to say, okay, if they are saying this as part of the port, where are we?
They are regulators.
And the owner of sometimes, not all times, when government do the operations themselves, we operate as minimum. But when we allow private sector to buy some of the things, then you can easily see the growth of this growing very fast. And not even close enough to this. Maybe government operates with another year, we need to do more of this. By that time, probably not going to so we really, I think as a community, we look at the but I think there's a gray area there that we need to see. Because at the end of the day, what we're coming from, one of the that is to give the value of this differences between port fisheries needs to be solved out.
Thank you very much, Senator Mohammed. What I would suggest is, I think in future, or let's say when we meet in another meeting, we'll make sure that we're going to meeting.
Chair, that will be very important, and I think we are reaching 95%, and the project will soon.
Explain it.
I'm the chair. I have to make sure my member is comfortable with that. Are you comfortable with that? Club? Make sure you call a meeting. So,
With the chair, I want to agree with Senator Mandago, and also to communicate that the spirit is to have a private operator. And that's why in the presentation, you might have heard that we are going the landlord way.
Can we proceed? My colleague will answer some of the questions.
Yeah, there was there was a question on the local content. Now, for the local content, it was explained that there was 14 number on knowledge transfer. Those are Kenyans. The local content. I'm answering the question on local content. Yeah, and I was trying to explain that it's true as it was explained. We had 14 in number on local on knowledge transfer. Those ones were Kenyans, and they were local from here. Majority of the staff, as you said, from the casual environment were mostly from here, and it was in relation to the stakeholders. We had a liaison officer who was able to identify most of the people, especially the semi-skilled personnel, to work on the site, and he was able to assist the contractor in identifying some of those people. Most of the material, especially sand, aggregate, cement, were all local from Kenyan market. The HIV management was also local, to the tune of 3.4. Somebody asked about the cost. That was 3.4 million. For the tree planting, we have had around 3 sessions, if I'm not wrong, for tree planting. For trees worth 1 million shillings. And then the other item that was asked is whether we had variations, and we would want categorically to say that the project had no variations. We have not had any variations so far. The variations, perhaps if there is any, is arising from the phase 2 works, which we have not tendered for. Yes.
Do you have somebody from the community here? Kuna mtu yote wa hapa mjini? Sorry?
Yes.
Katika ajira.
The one is, I can't remember, consultants, what was asked?
The consultancy, this station.
Yeah.
From Bamburi.
Some of these cement factories are some foreign shareholders. So let us forget about the industrial life. We talk of steel, we talk of one and also about the industry in there. That does not populate the local interest of a project like this. When we talk of local, we are talking of what is it that is called the Shimoni. In short, the money that went with this project of 2.6 billion, that for local subcontractors is the one for HIV, 300 amounting to 4.4 billion. Other than casual wage and contractor is probably can tell us how much have you spent in casual labor? We have a contractor.
Yes.
How much have you spent on labor?
Have some cashews. At peak period we have almost 350. At peak period we have 350. Now currently we have around 140 people.
In terms of costs,
Cost.
how much have you paid for the casual workers of this project as of today?
But I have
They don't
to
have a figure, but we can estimate.
check.
I know you cannot. How much have you paid by?
600 for a helper.
600. So we need to say 600 times 600. That's about 1 million. 1 million. Then
If we are we want to improve the economy of this place. We also want to improve the living standards. Please, Bwana Dr. Sudi and the project managers, kidogo, let's leave some money. Let's leave some money in the community, and good money. Because we now have capacity. We have local contractors who can do 1, 2 things. Let's give them subcontracts.
But are we going to plead with them?
4.4 million, my friend. Please. And if you have if we have a legislative problem, tell us. We can amend the public procurement so that we say if the contract is 2.6 billion or above 1 billion, we demand that 40% becomes local, and of the 40%, we demand that it is local.
Yes, because we can't plead. You are fearing helpless pleading. Actually, when driving to this place, you can see people around are very poor. And this is part of the SDGs of leaving no one behind and eradicating poverty. You see what picture does it bring, especially when we are hyping it nationally that it is a life-changing program.
And then what is the CSR? What is the CSR for this project? I saw it somewhere.
You can see an area where we have, you can see an area where there is a blue layout plan. The semi-blue, the light blue. Those 2 areas are meant for future expansions, and we can decide one of them to become the fire station in the future, whereas the other one will become an office complex. Okay? Yes. And then there was a question on whether the original document was to have the fire station equipped. No, in the first phase, we were only doing the infrastructure, the building for the fire station. So there was no fire station, fire equipment as it is, or the components. Those ones were not in the scope of the works. Yes. Then there was the issue of water. As it was explained about the water, among the water, fire station, and detailed security, integrated security, the right security, the smart fences and water fuel, all these had been earmarked alongside the fish auction market as part of the phase 2 of the works. So, okay, for now, our plan is since it was to be part of the phase 2, we are trying to see whether the most optimal, yes, no additional works rather, yeah, which also amounts to phase 2. We are trying to see whether it is very feasible to undertake the desalination plant or to undertake the study from the Tiwi boreholes to bring the water here, or yes. So we just have to, we are trying to see the best way to convince the management and which is the most optimal solution and which will take the shortest time possible to bring water here. Yes. Yeah, so it is a very big concern with us, and we are trying to convince our management that it is true. We cannot operate without water here. So that is what we are working on now. And as it stands, what the management has said is to look at the viability of either designing a pipeline all the way here or undertaking the desalination plant and if it's desalination plant, at what cost. So that is what we are working on now. Yeah.
I think I mentioned earlier that it was initially there was a multi-agency approach, whereby ideally the county government and the coast water development, they were the ones who were supposed to bring the water to us.
How was the whole project design, not knowing how we are going to get the water?
It is how the directive was. Matauliza nani alipeana directive? Yes.
The scope of that, these 2.6 billion cost of the company was water position part of that.
No. It was not part. What was the part of the What was the part of the scope is the infrastructure to do with the water, plumbing works. As you can see, you are shown about the tank and everything, but supply to the inside of the port was not part of the scope. But any other, come again?
Coast water? Yes.
Yeah.
It was between coast water and the county government.
And county government were to supply water upon completion. So the idea was, as the construction is ongoing, then it was also meant the water was also coming.
The power?
Yes, and similar to power. Yes. Yeah.
If you remember last time she was here.
There is this very big dam. I don't know if it will be very possible. There's a dam which was based in Shimoni dam. Very big dam. In fact, the other last 3 weeks ago, we were meeting with the CS in this water. Where will this water go and who will use this water? It's very fine for me, but it's a very, very big dam. You can even solve the whole conference part. I don't know, but maybe if you talk to the Kwale, see how far they can use the water. Because at the moment they won't use the dam. It's a very big dam. I think we're aware about the dam. It's called the Shimoni dam.
Yeah, and that's why I've explained whether to do desalination or to run a design from whatever the source. As of now, we have like 3 viable options: the desalination from the water within, the desalination from slightly waters which are not within this environment, or looking at the hydrology of if we can get any other aquifer which is of potential use, which can have good recycle in terms of the weather, or to use the existing tiwi boreholes. So yes,
The first phase will be completed by July.
by mid-June. Yeah. Yes.
You see, if this project will be completed by mid-June and we don't have water yet, so still.
So just to echo what you have alluded to and what Honorable Senator Mandago alluded to as well, the initial approach, the intelligent approach has not worked. It has failed. So that is why we are working on the alternatives of getting, especially the water. So that is what we are very hurriedly and urgently working on. Yeah. And the Kurumuzi suggestion is a very good food for thought. We will take it up. Thank you. Yes, yes.
That was reduced.
Yes, you said you did have from, I think it was 150 by something and so forth. During the feasibility study and the design, at what point was the decision made to reduce, and what were the reasons as to why it had to be reduced? Then a general question on the justifications of engaging a consultant. And that's why I was asking whether we have people from public works here and so forth. You know, your statement said of the analysis by KPA, it was found that there are gaps. Now, if KPA had the capacity to analyze and see the gaps, why did we need a consultant?
And the consultants, what percentage?
Because that tells us KPA has sufficient technical capacity to assess and determine that in terms of scope and specification, this is what we need. Then, why did we need then a consultant? Because the reverse would be if you tell us we are bringing a consultant, is you don't have capacity. And if you don't have capacity, who will supervise the consultant? Probably I don't need an answer on that one, but I need the one for the JT. Then the other thing that I wanted to...
Why don't you need an answer for that one?
Is obvious.
I'll need an answer for that one, even if he doesn't need it. He mentioned it in the presence of everyone. For me, I'll need an answer.
The other question I wanted to ask was some of the structures that you demolished here, or they are set for demolition, are the asbestos roofing material. I would like to know whether those asbestos have been removed, and if they have been removed, who removed the asbestos? If it was contracted, which firm? Do they have the license? And if they have, where did they safely dispose the asbestos to? Because as we understand the nature of those things, that they are carcinogenic. No, let me ask all, because you know, Dr. Sudi has already said their indication that. So I think I can ask all of them in a hurry so that you can just tell us. Then, as part of, I want to know whether in this scope of the project, because we are having fish that is going to be transported to the market and so forth. I don't know whether there is a weigh bridge for purposes of knowing the quantity and the weight of fish that is being moved from this port. In your presentation, you also say that the port is currently still in use for other goods. Probably I would like to know, are the goods from the East Africa region, or are the goods from international vessels coming, or what are these other goods that are coming other than fish that are coming here? I think I can leave it at that.
That's all, huh?
Is all. There's only one fundamental question I think we are forgetting and we wanted to know as a committee. Now, other than this project, I don't know whether there is a new work and so forth, but there is an issue of, was it a new contract? I don't know, they seem to have been, I'll just take in these documents as you answer, but probably you might know. Are there additional new works that government has had to, probably in the course of trying to make sure it is operational and so forth, that has been added to this project? Or there is another project that the people are confusing with this project? And I think it was an audit query.
Senator Madago.
Yes.
Captain.
And Zanzibar, they are carrying this cooking oil, and some items are coming from, that is the mostly trade between Shimoni with the old jetty, and our cross-border mostly is Tanzania, Zanzibar, and Pemba. With regard to the size of the jetty, initially we did a stakeholder engagement. Shimoni here, it's good in tourism with the Kisite Mpunguti and all these other areas. So there were issues also to do with the dredging works and not to destabilize the flora and fauna of the area. We still have, because we had a lot of engagement with the people who are taking to go and see those area, the fishing area in Kisite. So we had a lot of tussles here and there. Why do you want to do this? Why bringing the fishing port in Shimoni? You are going to destabilize the dolphin. People are coming here to see the dolphins and all that stuff. So the whole idea was to do a jetty without spoiling the environment. So when we did our studies, most of the sizes of vessels that we were targeting internationally, the fishing trawlers and the Passin and whatever, were vessels of a certain length. Initially we had that 150 meter long, but quite a number of vessels were coming at a length of 75, 50 and 60. We were looking more on the draft. The more cargo, you can be shorter, but you are fully loaded. So you are coming in with more cargo rather than having a longer ship, but with less cargo on the vessel. So we looked at, to avoid the dredging, we need to have the jetty which is longer to go into deeper waters, to make it long, to go into deeper waters to avoid the dredging, because the depths closer to the shore were short. I mean, they were not deep depths. So we had to build the jetty longer to follow deep water